When he says it, he means it, and you don't get to bend it and twist it to what you want.
To reach the lost Israelites, the message has to go to everybody, and then the whomsoever wills will come. The ones who he draws will come.
By the way, knowledge meaning what? Having a relationship with the truth. Oh, you learned, and you got tons of information, but have you come into a relationship with truth? All right, we're live now? All right. Okay, so welcome everyone. I guess I'm going to look this way, even though everybody's sitting over here, and it's going to make me look that way. Okay. Welcome everyone to the general session. This is something that we used to do every month, and now we're doing it more like quarterly. It's the first time we're doing it on YouTube, so I'm not really sure how this is going to work. So we'll have to see how that goes. Dave, we got anybody logged on? How many? Wow, 105 logged on. Okay, so this is going very well. All right, awesome. Okay. You know what? You guys can make it a lot easier on me if you sit in this two sections towards the middle. That way I can kind of look forward. I really would appreciate that. On both sides. That way I can kind of just look in that general direction. Yeah, the more you sit towards the middle, the more I can look straight ahead. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so the general session, you know, one of the things that ministries have to do, I know that you're going to find this very shocking, is we need to listen to what people need. We need to listen to what those that we serve, those that we have the responsibility to provide for, you know, in whatever level we have in the capacity as leadership. You know, we need to listen and hear what they need. And one of the things that I heard in all my years of discussing this with people is that people have always wanted to have an opportunity to interact with the leadership and have them get to be heard, okay? And so we do a leadership meeting every other week, basically, about twice a month. And in the leadership, well, actually now we're doing it about once a month. But we do a leadership meeting where it used to go from leadership meeting, and we did that today. We had a leadership meeting in the morning. We're going to have a general session now, because it gives us an opportunity then to share with you some of the things that the leadership is discussing, some of the decisions that are made, and have a little bit more transparency than a lot of groups provide, because we feel that that's really important. Okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to do two things. I'm going to share with you a bunch of things that are going on, give you that kind of an update, and then we'll have a Q&A sort of time where you can ask questions about things that are going on. This is also for those of you, I'll point this way, those of you on the live stream, especially if you're new to MTOI and you have questions about MTOI and what we do and what we provide. This is an opportunity for you to ask me and interact with me as far as those things. And then if anything else comes up during the discussion that we may need to talk about as a whole group, we'll see what we can do with that afterwards if there's time, okay? So first, let me kind of give an idea for all of you just so you can understand the structure. Okay, MTOI is the umbrella organization that we have here. Beth Shalom Messianic Congregation is our local congregation here in Cleveland, Tennessee. MTOI has affiliated with it several congregations around the world. We have a few congregations in South Africa. We've got some people that are working on building congregations in Northern Ireland. We've got people in Australia. We've got congregations in Canada and throughout the U.S., including Texas, Wisconsin, and Ohio, and Indiana, and New Mexico. I'm just going to list people like Utah. Man, I'm going to start leaving people out. Washington? No. Okay. So if I left somebody out, I am so sorry. Okay, but we do have. I'm not just telling you we're individual. We actually have congregations or people that are meeting in their homes as affiliated congregations in these locations. And the leadership of MTOI, in case you're understanding our leadership, we have a very simple structure. Everybody has to just agree with everything I say, and they get to be in leadership. It's not really complicated. No. Okay, we have a leadership where we have very simple but important criteria. Two things. You have to be leading something. It could be a small home fellowship in your house. It could be a group of 20 or 30 in a building. It doesn't matter. You're leading something, okay? And that you're participating in what MTOI is doing, okay? In other words, that you come to the leadership meetings once a month, that you come and attend, if you, as much as possible, the Tuesday night Torah studies so that you can give your feedback and input, which is a little bit tougher to do now. We have the YouTube as opposed to when we didn't do it on YouTube and we could have microphone sharing. We'll try to see what we could do with the technology to improve or change that, okay? Is that you, as much as possible, you have the members of your group attend our feast as a big group, and we do have a good attendance at that. So, there's another group in Arizona, but he wasn't able to make the meeting today. So we have an Arizona group as well. I'm just trying to let my brain figure these things out as we go along. And so in our leadership meetings, we have an opportunity for each individual to have the microphone and share what's going on in the local congregation, all the dirty secrets and all. No, I'm kidding. They're just giving us an update of what's going on and how they're doing in their groups, okay? And what's great is it gives an opportunity for some of the leaders have been doing this a really long time. Some have just been doing this a very short time. And so we get to come together and have iron sharpen iron and share experiences. So a leader may say something like, I'm dealing with this thing in my group, I'm really not sure what to do, and then get the feedback and input from the other leaders of the group. Or may have a situation that they've already handled, and they want to ask, did I do the right thing? Did I handle this correctly? Okay, so it's a great learning opportunity and sharing opportunity for everyone in the group. And so it's also a way for us to bring up topics that come up in the groups that maybe is a topic everybody might be dealing with. And so this is how we come up with sort of, I don't want to call it policy, but it's sort of, it's for MTOI, it's policy. We don't expect all the members to necessarily adhere to the policy, but it's our position on some things, okay? And so as a matter of fact, the very first MTOI meeting, I think it was even before we called it MTOI, maybe right when we first, yeah, it was the first MTOI meeting, was about the calendar. Because that was an issue that needed to be settled. It was the very first MTOI meeting. So the leadership is available in there to discuss these issues and then to hopefully come up with a position that makes sense that we can all agree to. Leadership-wise and structure-wise, the burden of responsibility of making all the decisions ultimately falls on me. I'm the head of the organization. But it's also my responsibility to form consensus. In other words, that if I'm going to make a decision after I've heard everybody's position, by the way, it's very much like Acts 15. Everybody gets to speak, and then James made a decision, okay? And so what we have going on here, is when we have everybody come together, everybody speaks first, they all put in their input, and then either that day or at the next meeting, I can come and say, look, this is what I think we need to do as the leader. But it's my job to seek a way to help people understand why that's the right decision. At least the right decision for that moment and under the circumstances, etc. So I don't have a position where I just say, this is my decision and it's too bad on everybody. It's really a big part of my job to say, this is it, this is why, and if anybody has a question or issue, let's discuss it because I need to make the best effort I can to get everybody on the same page. And I can't say that there really has been, since very, very early on, many years ago, and those people have left our leadership, that we've had a problem where there was not a consensus once the decision was made, okay? And usually they're all on the same page when I make the decision just by the discussion that happened before the decision, and everybody got to hear the different positions and arguments and advances of their ideas. And so I wanted you to understand how things work. And these meetings used to go from 12 until about 1, and then 2, and then now 3, because we have about 20 leaders in the meetings every month when we have them. And that's a lot of people that, have a lot of stuff to say, and it's great because we get a lot of great input, okay, and everybody gets their chance. It's great now that we're using a platform called Zoom, so we actually get to look at each other. We get to see each other, we get to read each other's facial expressions, we get to, see the strength of their conviction, not only in their words, but in their faces, etc., okay? And so that's a really tremendous thing. So it's overwhelming in some ways for me to sit there sometimes and realize this is something Abba has built and allowed me to be a part of, okay? All right, so I just wanted you to have an understanding of how that is. For transparency purposes, and I know this comes up a lot, we don't do public disclosures of things like finances and all these other things, and we're not going to do that tonight, but the leadership knows. Okay, we have transparency. I'm aware of what's going on with them, and they know what's going on here, and we have an accountability. Okay, so this is a ministry with accountability. I know a lot of you have been a part of ministries with no accountability. Okay, the leader just does whatever they want. There's nobody to say, hold on, wait, time out, what are you doing? Okay, and so we have transparency and accountability. And so that was one of the reasons why we did the general sessions. Now, we used to do them every month. The reason we stopped is because really, believe it or not, the participation had dwindled. We were getting 80 to 100 people, and then next thing you know, we're getting 30 or 40 people, barely. And so, for lack of interest, I said, okay, so we can do this quarterly, and that's fine. Okay, so we'll see how this goes today. Anyway, so hopefully that gives you a better picture of how we do things, how our structure is. And so we We give information to the leadership about upcoming things that we're doing, upcoming things that we're planning. And that we'd like to share with you guys as well, so you know what's kind of coming up and in the works. And we'll give you an opportunity to also interact and ask questions. If anybody's new out there, we provide, and then we have a website, MTOI.org. All of the teachings that I do are online free on every possible platform, on iTunes, on YouTube, on Podomatic, on different podcast devices, etc. And so you can access it anywhere. We also provide a free program called Parsha Pearls, which is our M.T.O.I. program. M.T.O.I. stands for Messianic Torah Observant Israel, and M.T.O.I. is Young Messianic Torah Observant Israelites. And so we have a program for the youth, ages. Okay, I'm just looking to my wife who heads the program, 5 through 18 basically. And you get on the website all kinds of materials to go through the weekly Torah portion. There are crafts involved if you want to do a craft. There are snacks you can make that are related to the Torah portion. There are little games and drawings that the children can color in if they're younger and they like to draw, or if they're older and they like to draw. There's questions and little interactive things to see if they understood the Torah portion. And it's really tremendous, especially good also for adults if you're new at all this. I mean, you will learn an awful lot from it and get a good basic foundation of going through the Torah portions. And again, it's all available free on our website. Okay? And by the way, we are developing a new website, so stay tuned and be ready for our new website. We're expecting to launch it in August at some point. Okay, so we're only a couple of weeks away as we're working on that. So that's one of the things to say. Now, with the website, I know a lot of people have wanted this, and so I'm excited we're going to have it on there. We are going to have our interactive map back on there. Okay, we're going to have an app on there so that we have an interactive map. The difference between our map and other maps that are on other sites is that our map will be vetted. By vetted, I mean everybody on it will be, or at least have made assertion that they're a part of the group. And that way, if you find somebody on the map and you happen to live in a place where there is not a congregation, and you find another person on the map, you say, wait a minute, this is another person that's kind of following in the same direction I am. We may have something we could talk about and be on the same page, et cetera. Then you can contact each other, et cetera. So we'll have that on the map, as well as the affiliate groups and their locations, et cetera, on there, so people can contact the affiliate leaders and if they need to get together for fellowship, okay? I think we'll also need to put on the website, and Dave, you can make a note of this, we need our relocation page of some sort and ways to contact and information you might want to post there to help people, because we have a lot of people moving here, okay? At this point, it's almost 2 families a month or something. I mean, it's really just an incredible weird thing. It's just great. And so we'll put some information there about Cleveland and about relocating and some resources and contacts and stuff that you can have on there if you're interested. I will say this. If any of you out there are interested in moving here, what you need to do is visit first, and then you need to visit long enough where you can actually stay a little while and drive around and see the area and talk to the people and spend some time. Get to know the area a little bit. Don't just get excited because you like my teachings or something, okay? But come here and meet people, all right? And get a sense of it, okay? And look, I'm sure and I'm confident you'll love it, and the people are incredible. But I just think that step 1 would be just come and visit us, okay? If you want, I think one of the best ways to do it is come to one of our events. Come to Sukkot. By the way, the Sukkot page is up. Yay! So if you go to MTOI.org, the Sukkot page is up with the registration form. I think I have some on the back table still from Shabbat, if anybody needs one. And so the Sukkot, you can come and visit us for something like Sukkot, but plan to come early or stay after for a few days to come down to Cleveland, because Sukkot's not in Tennessee, it's in North Carolina, just about 30, 40 minutes east of Asheville. But, plan to stay and come and visit us a little bit, and that'd be cool. That'd be great if you can come and do that, all right? And so that would be what I recommend. And so we're going to have the interactive map on there, which I think is going to be really great, so that people can, find the fellowships, but also so they can find each other. And by the way, sometimes you'll notice that there's a whole cluster of people in an area, and next thing you know, a congregation can form out of that. That's kind of what happened in Ohio. Okay? There's enough people to get there, had met on general sessions and things like this, and they said, wait a minute, why don't we just pick a location and get together? And so we have a very thriving little congregation there in Lakeview, Ohio. Okay? What was that? Yes, and what was that? Northeast Utah? Oh, they got 10 families now in Northeast Utah. Oh, okay. Well, I need to talk to them about that. Okay? And so we have, now we'll have 2 congregations or groups in Utah. Okay? So, because we have, the most also are in Utah. Okay? So we have a couple of things going on that way. All right. Another thing that we're real excited about that's coming up in August is the MTOI Academy. All right? So one of the, okay, I think we should have started with, look, the vision that I've had, okay, not that I sat there and had a vision, but I mean what I believe that the Father's been giving me, okay, to do, like my mandate, the task to do, was to do 2 things, okay, primarily, okay? Work together with people to facilitate the functioning of serving the body in a more effective way. And the second thing being to reach the needs of the isolated and disenfranchised. That was the 2 original mandates. And then after getting started, a third one was added, which was to work with the education of the children and then work with the education of the adults. And this is the same model the Chabad uses. I mean, you know, as far as they start off going into a town, and the first thing they do is start a pre-K and a nursery and the elementary school to try to help educate the children, and then, of course, teach the spiritual programming through their particular way of doing it. And we're going to, of course, have a Torah program as part of our program. And I know the homeschool parents are very excited about that because it'll be a Torah program that's not going through one of the other filters that all the other homeschool programs have. Okay? And so M.T.O.I. Academy will be launching its initial class this August in just a couple of weeks. And so we're excited. We do have a bunch of children already signed up and ready to go. And so that's real exciting. Now, so some of you may want to move here just for that because we're going to keep developing that school. Okay, that's our plan, is to have it grow. By the way, the academy now has children from toddlers because it's got a Montessori sort of beginning program for really little ones all the way up to high school. As a matter of fact, we have like a bunch of 11th graders. Okay, so it's from basically little toddlers all the way up to 11th grade right now. We have students signed up. So this is really exciting that we're going to have that. Now, as from the educational side of this, we're also looking forward to developing the yeshiva program for the adults, for those that want to train and study in a yeshiva program. Okay, so one of the things that I want you all to pray about, though, and this is not a solicitation, but we're going to need to expand this building and facility, so just keep that in prayer, that it's not an appeal for money per se, but that we have the right architect and the right things done so that we can build what we need to extend this space. Okay, so we can put the classrooms and the meeting spaces and everything in another building so that we can start doing more of the things. Because this facility right now has about 150 chairs in it. We probably can work it out to put another 30 or 40 in here, but it's going to start to get a little bit crammed, and we're going to outgrow that pretty quickly. And we only bought the building in October. We're already outgrowing it, which is pretty incredible. Well, we've almost doubled the congregation since October. So that's kind of part of what, I mean, we're probably about 65, 70 in October. Now we're closer to 140. Okay, 130, 140 on a weekly basis. Dave, do you have a number from last week, from Saturday, yesterday? About 104, 100, something like that people is our guess. So it was over 100. But the week before that, we had about 130. So it ebbs and flows. People are home and they're sick and other things happen. 171 online right now. See, that's already better than we've ever had at a general session. Okay, so our decision to go to YouTube was a good one. Okay, so that's coming up. We're also planning to do, now I don't know how we're going to do this, and I don't think we're going to be able to do this in any kind of a broadcast way because I'd like to keep it somewhat secure. So this is just more for you guys, but we are going to start here, hopefully, maybe even in August, the men's class and the women's class. But I'm going to try to work on it for you guys in a way that it can be duplicated in the other areas, or somehow we could do something online. But I don't want it to be just open to the public. Because the need for the body right now
is, okay, one of the things that I've been talking about is the body needs to grow up. I'm not saying it in a condescending way. We need to mature, which means we have to deal with our stuff. And it's hard to deal with our stuff just sitting and listening to a teaching. It's a lot more effective to deal with our stuff in small group settings, okay, where you can feel safe and comfortable to share and to deal with your stuff. The men started doing this, I guess, a year or two ago, and we did this once every other week for a little while, and we actually did it for a good couple of months, and then we stopped at some point to go to a feast, and we didn't pick it up again, and then we ended up losing buildings, or that's what it was. We ended up losing our buildings in space, so we were moving around so much, and it was really powerful and really effective. And so I think what we're going to do is try to reestablish it and also document the process and the formula of what we're doing so that it can be duplicated, okay? And ladies, we're going to do the same thing for you, okay? Because last time the men were the only ones doing it, we didn't do anything for the ladies. I see we've segregated the audience. The ladies are all over here and the guys are all over this side, okay? We'll put the little curtain between you guys. Okay? All right. They're practicing their Orthodox Judaism, the ladies to one side and the men to the other. Okay. All right. Just looking at my list of stuff here. So those are the primary things that we have coming up very much in the very near future, so that's real exciting. And so the only other update is that I want you to know that we have not stopped looking for the property we're going to need to build a feast site on. And so we do have another property we're going to hopefully look at next week sometime that has been identified, and it's actually here in Cleveland. Okay? It's something that was used already as a school, and so it's got a large campus. It's about 95 acres or something like that. And the problem is because it has a already existing infrastructure on it, it's going to cost a whole lot more than what we were looking at. And so I'm not sure it's within the range of what we'd qualify for, but you can keep that in prayer. But we do have some people that know the people who have the property, such as, so who knows if something could be worked out, but we're going to maybe take a look at it this week. But even if that doesn't work, I just know that we are actively looking. Because just so you know, I mean, I don't know if we've mentioned this out loud as much, but when we all go to a place like Sukkot, all of us together end up giving that property over $100,000. That's what it costs for the food and the housing for 300 people for 9 days. So that money, some of it would still be spent on things like that here, but it could be the profits, quote unquote, of it could go to paying for and building the infrastructure of our own property. Why should we be putting all that money into somebody else's pocket when we can use it to build the facilities for ourselves and then pay for those facilities? Because imagine that's almost $250,000 a year when you do 2 large feasts at $100,000 each plus. That's a lot of money. Now some of that goes to their expenses, but a lot of it doesn't. And so what doesn't, we could actually take off the price and make it affordable. And some of that we could also put into the paying for the facility, so that we could actually pay off the whatever it costs us to buy the property and then that kind of a thing. And once we own it full out, then we could really lower the prices and make it affordable, okay? Because we're not for profit. But it would be, I think, much more, it would be wisdom if we could have our own place and be able to rearrange all of that so the funds are not just going into somebody else's profit margin, but instead go to serve the body in building the facilities we need. Would that make sense? Okay? Now, for those of you that are watching that don't know us, we don't solicit, and I'm not going to ask for an offering. We're not taking up one now. I'm not going to ask you to hit a donation button. So I just want to make sure that when I said all of this, if you want to be a part of anything to do with it, you can certainly let us know, but we are not asking for anything. Just pray about what Abba's going to inspire whoever he wants to. Remember the incredible time that Moses had when the people just brought their offerings and he had to tell them that's too much because their hearts were moved. That's how we operate. We operate under those whose hearts are moved, okay? Now, I think that's going to cover it as far as what I want to share with you as far as the upcoming things. And so now I'd like to open up the floor here as well as on the live stream. So Dave, you got the live, is the chat working and everything? Good? Okay, so we're going to try to go ahead and get some questions asked. I mean, if anybody has a question about the ministry in general, if you have a question about some of the upcoming things that we're doing. This is not like Stump the Rabbi Bible questions time. This is really about, things that you really like. I'd like to hear feedback, the stuff that you really love that we're doing, stuff that maybe we're not doing that you'd like to see us do. Maybe some stuff that we're doing you'd rather us not do, and that's okay too, but just be polite about it. Okay? Okay, and this is my wife, the Rebbitzin, Julie.
Yeah, just in talking to different people, they wanted more clarity on the feast. Hello. They wanted more clarity on the accommodations for the feast because unlike other feasts now, we're providing tenting. So if you could give more clarification about the different housing options, because they were a little confused by the form. So I'm just bringing it up because other people had brought it up.
Can you
to me.
explain it?
Yeah.
All right, pass it
And,
to, when you're done, you can pass it to Stacia. She can explain it.
Okay. Now I forgot my second question. Okay.
Okay,
I'm
well,
just-
think of it while she's answering.
Gotcha.
Give her the mic. Pass it back to Stacia. Because Stacia, by the way, is our feast coordinator. So she helped put together, she actually put that document together that we're using. And so she's going to be better able to answer it than I am. So explain the different accommodations.
It's on.
Yep.
There are tent sites available for those who prefer a tent for housing. If you choose a tent, you would use the commuter rate for meals. If you want a meal plan with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, there's meal plan number 1 for 4 and 10 nights. There's meal plan number 2, which is only lunch and dinner for 4 and 10 nights as well. Same thing with the RV sites. If you have an RV, we already have people signed up for both of those, by the way, tents and RV sites. So I hope that clarifies any questions that there were. If not, just give us a call, and we'll be happy to explain.
All right, thank you. Okay. Do you remember your second question? Okay.
It's because I haven't seen you all day. Hi.
I've been in meetings all day.
Another question was, are we for sure having services here before, because it starts Sunday night, so are anybody going earlier, or we're just all going
Okay,
up Sunday?
I'm still working on those decisions. We will probably need to talk to the site about it again, but because the problem is knowing whether or not we can have access to the building a day early just so that we can do that. We didn't contract that. And so, remind me, we need to talk to Caroline. Is it Caroline? We need to talk to Caroline this week about those issues, because I think that it's going to be really tough to show up on Sunday and launch on Sunday. So we're going to have to bring most of it up as we've done in the past on Thursday or Friday, and then spend that Shabbat there. I know it makes for a very long, almost 2 weeks for the leadership to do that. So let's have that conversation. Well, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow morning. Dave, did we schedule that? So you guys are watching live what we do. Do we have a schedule for that leadership meeting? Not leader, but that staff meeting tomorrow? We don't have a time? Okay, we're going to try and have a staff meeting tomorrow afternoon. And at that meeting, bring that up, and we'll talk about everybody at the staff meeting. A lot of you are here in the room now. Bring your concerns and issues and things that we need to address to the meeting so that we can kind of go ahead and hit some of those things and get them all worked out. But that's a good question. Okay, so for those of you that are watching, we may or may not be having, and those of you here, services here on that Shabbat. Although we may have people here be able to open the facility. You could sit here and watch a live stream on the screen, or you could do that at home. We'll have to figure this out, because this is the challenge when we have years where the feast starts on a Sunday night, which means that we can't get there on Saturday and set up because it's Shabbat. We can't get there on Sunday and set up because there's just not enough time. Okay, there's too much to do to get the sound system and everything else set up on a Sunday. So we have to get there, on Thursday night maybe, so we have all day Friday and Sunday to get it done. And so that's, probably what we're going to need to do. We'll have to talk to the facility about it. Okay? Okay, good question. For those of you that are also coming, who've come to other feasts with us, understand we are learning just like you are about this facility. We have not been, we've been there to visit it, but we've never used it before. So we don't yet know exactly how it will function. We've been blessed so far that every place we've gone has actually worked out very well. Okay, we've not had any like clunkers or something that just didn't work out. But we had some really good experiences at the other places we've gone to. This is our first time at this one, as we've now kind of outgrown the last one. And if this one can work out, we can stay at this one probably for the foreseeable future until we get our own place, because they've got one building that has an auditorium that handles over 2,000. So we're not going to outgrow it. Okay, it's a matter of them being able to block out enough space and enough rooms for us in advance, because we span usually 2 weekends, and that's tough for these facilities to give up a weekend to us. Okay? Because we are coming in with 300 or 400. In a weekend, they could have 1,200, 1,500, or 2,000 need the same facilities and for that group. And, I think they'd rather have the funds from 1,200 than from 300, but, that's what happens. So let's keep that in prayer. But that's another reason why we need our own property. It's very challenging in terms of those things. For those of you who are concerned about the meal plan and the food, we have that all worked out with the property. You will not have any kosher issues. That doesn't mean there might not be a snafu here or there. You're always dealing with new properties, and sometimes you can get a hiccup. But they are aware of our issues. We're working with them, and we are making efforts to have that all worked out. And so far, they seem very much agreeable to work with us. Okay? So that has not been a problem up to this point. Of course, we've not used the property yet. So we don't expect there to be an issue. But so just know that your leadership is well aware of these concerns, and we'll be on top of it, okay? All right. Some of you may go on their site, and you might notice that they have some strong things to say about if a group comes on the property that doesn't agree with their way of believing things, that could be an issue. We've already worked that out with them as well. That came up in the leadership meeting earlier today, and so we are aware of that little clause that they have, and, they're absolutely understanding that we do see things quite differently than they do. But the idea that we believe in Messiah, that's all they seem to care about. Okay? Even though we see him completely differently than they do, that they don't seem to care about. Okay? I think they actually still go to the church of green money, and that's what they really care about, okay? All right, so when they heard, 300 people or more for 9 days, they were like, yeah, we'll take that. Okay? So that'll work out just fine. Any other comments or questions here in the local little group? Okay. I'm sure there'll be more at some point. We'll see what Dave's got at the live stream.
So some just basic ones. We've got somebody inquired about how does membership work? Something you've addressed before, but
that's a good question.
New people always want to know.
Okay, so you sign over your firstborn and $1,000 seed. Don't forget that $1,000 seed, though. Okay. See, when I'm not actually just up here teaching, you guys are going to realize that the wise guy thing is always going. By the way, ask my wife, even at home, always the wise guy thing is going. Okay. But this is a good question because this has come up recently with some people because they're dealing with it in places that they were attending before where those places wanted them to become members and they had members classes and that kind of thing. We don't do the membership thing. We do the covenant thing. And guess what? That's not between you and me or you and this organization. That's between you and the Father. And so we encourage you to covenant with your Messiah and with the Heavenly Father. We don't have any membership type of thing whatsoever. Okay? What we're trying to do is create a safe environment where anybody can come, where they're at in their life, in their walk, and that they can take that from that spot and they can grow and in the transformation process from what they are into what he is. So they can transform and conform into the image of Yeshua. What we ask is that you do it politely. In other words, you don't disrespect other people walking out their own salvation in fear and trembling and having a safe place so they can walk out from where they are to where he is. Okay? David?
Another one is Rabbi Tom mentioned or wanted you to speak on the possibility of introducing M.T.O.I. printed literature.
Okay, that's a really good point. What came up at the leadership meeting, that's another thing that came up, I forgot to write in my notes, is an interest in printed leadership, printed literature. Boy, if I could print leadership, that'd be great. Get a printer to crank out a few leadership people. See if I climb on the copy machine and see if that works. What came up is that there's a lot of new people that come in that need or desire basic understandings of things. And a lot of churches do these things. They have little booklets, pamphlets, little booklets where you get the very straightforward, simple, basic kashrut, the moedim, the appointed times, some basic things, Shabbat, okay? Beware false prophets. Oh, okay, I was kidding. That would be about this thick, and it would. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so for people that want to understand basic mechanics, because hopefully they're getting the other stuff through the teachings, but just sometimes they want a little reference book, a little something. By the way, for those of you that are online who want kashrut or the food-related help, our cookbook, the first one, right, has the first and the third ones, because we have three cookbooks. The first and the third cookbooks have a lot of that kashrut information in it. Okay, so you could, if you, and also some great recipes. Okay, I didn't gain like an extra 20 pounds by accident. Okay, so the recipes are good. Well, as the rabbi, I felt it was necessary to try all of them before we put them in the book. That's not what happened. Okay, so what do you guys think of that idea? Would that be great to have some like booklets you can hand somebody with some of the more basic, simple things? Okay. All right, so we could do that because I think we can generate that. Rabbi Tom is maybe going to work with me. He's a writer. I've got the information and the thoughts that I want to put on paper. I'm not a writer, so together we can maybe crank out something to make some booklets, some MTOI booklets of the basic stuff. Okay? Okay. Then we can deal with the not so simple things like the nature of grace and whether or not you're saved. And okay, thank you for convoluting the problem. Okay. Now that that's clear as mud, what? Well, once we get the booklets, we can make them PDFs for download. We can make them ebooks for people to read on their readers, okay, where they can get them from, Amazon or whatever, free. They can have, or whatever they have to do to get them. We can put them as ebooks because, Amazon has a lot of free books. Okay, on the Kindle, we can put them available. Any format we can get it into, we'll try to get it into so people can access it. Okay, the printed ones, we may have to charge a little bit. I'm not sure how we're going to work that out, just because it's going to cost us to make them. Okay, and so anything that doesn't cost us, we certainly don't charge for. We just give it away as best we can. Even stuff that costs us a little bit. Listen, we give away, for those of you that don't know this, we give away, 600 times. So we give away 3,600 CDs a month. Actually, more like 4,000. But we mail out 3,600 CDs a month for free. Okay, of the teachings. All right? And so, this is just part of the mandate was, when I first started, I believed that Father told me, give it all away. I give you this stuff, you give it away. And so we've always given the teachings away. And anything else we could give away as much as we can. Okay, what else you got?
Someone's asking, will the website allow for updates and challenges? So I'm thinking that means your challenges for study as well as any updates for upcoming things for those that don't have Facebook and other social media.
Let's make sure that the website has an updates thing, an announcements thing for those who can't necessarily get some of the things that are happening, can post something on there. Like maybe like someone like a blog, like a little thing that's just kind of, you could follow that'll have a date and a little update of some sort. That'd be a great thing that we can do. Okay, appreciate that. Also, and I don't have my pen. No, I do have my pen. Okay, let me write this down. How many of you would like to start more of those challenges again? Okay, if you're online, you don't know what I'm talking about. We've done some 30-day challenges, and I'm not talking about like weight loss. Okay, although I'm doing one of those right now. Okay, that'd be a good one too, right? Okay, so what you'll do is while you're drinking your juice that you did in your juicing machine, you'll read Deuteronomy. No, okay, so that'll be your challenge. Okay, so we've done some challenges in the past, so I'm going to write down that things that we're going to be doing as challenges. I want to add that. I know we've been wanting to do some more of those, and so I'd like to start those again. I'd like to do them when it works out that the 30-day countdown takes you to something, like 30 days to trumpets. We may do something, and we've done in the past during the days of awe leading up to the 40 days leading up to trumpets. Okay, so we may do that. Okay, or do something along those ways. Okay, so let's just kind of keep that in mind. It's something I just wrote down. We can kind of add there. What else you got, Dave?
Asking when you'll be returning to the Ladies Halakha group.
Oh, I haven't been on Marco Polo at all in like 2 weeks. Okay, this is sincere. I'm really, really sorry. People have personally messaged me on Marco Polo, and people are asking all kinds of questions in both the men's and the ladies' halakha group. The men have an advantage, though. Rabbi Tom generally gets in there and answers the questions and does a great job. And so I haven't really been brought into that unless someone notifies me that, hey, there's a question that's problematic. So when we have the meeting tomorrow, we're supposed to have a group calendar that we're sharing. Make sure, Dave, that when we get the group calendar going, that I block out email, Marco Polo, whatever time every day, where I block out an hour just to deal with that, okay? It won't take an hour to do all the Marco Polo, but between the emails and the Marco Polos and all that stuff, if I take an hour a day just to work on those things, I could block that time out. That would be great. 30 minutes or an hour every day should work, okay? Thank you, ladies, for your patience. And it's just too much stuff. Okay. Like today, I was in meetings since 10 o'clock this morning, so, okay. What else you got? And by the way, all of you on YouTube, these are great questions. These are really good questions.
Apparently the weight loss challenge is a pretty popular topic going on right now, so.
The MTOI biggest winner. Well, biggest winner, because if you're losing weight and that's what you want to do, you win, not lose. Don't be a loser.
Additionally, there's questions regarding the app for M.T.O.I, that one that Manny was developing.
Okay, I don't know. I have to talk to Manny. He's not here, but that's a good question. By the way, to all of you wanting to lose weight, I'm going to answer your questions very simply. Okay, I was a personal trainer. Okay, I know a lot about these things. It's really simple. Here's the problem. You lack discipline, okay? It's two things. It's not some formula diet of some sort and you get the book or you get this thing. Regulate what goes in your mouth and move your body. That's it. Some of you don't move enough. Move your body. That doesn't mean go to the gym and have to lift weights. Be active. Go take a walk, ride a bike, whatever you like to do, but move your body. That will burn and regulate what goes in your mouth. Take whatever you normally eat and just cut it in half and eat less of it. Just start because a lot of us eat just way too much in a meal. Okay? But regulate what goes in. You want to really simplify it? Cut out the breads and the pastas and all of the stuff. That stuff goes right straight. I want you to picture this. As you're eating that muffin or that cake or that cookie, picture just putting it right on the hips. And I used to tell people this as a personal trainer, and you know what? That visualization got them to stop. Okay? As you're going to grab that wonderful looking dessert, go, that's right there. And then think of it just going right on your belly and right on the hip, okay? Or actually put it there first and think if you still want to put it in your mouth. That might work too. I don't know. Okay, so it's part general session, part stand-up routine. Okay, so, but I'm telling you, this is not hard. I was a trainer. I helped people get in incredible shape. I did this for a good little while, and when I was much younger. But so I did this for a good little while, and I'm telling you, it's that simple. The problem is, you ready for this? You don't want it bad enough. This is the same thing like we talk about. This is a Torah thing indirectly. What have I told you about sin? You do it because you want to. Okay? And until you don't want it bad enough, you're going to keep doing it. Guess what? You eat the junk you eat and you do the things you do because you like to. Okay? Look, I am on this juice thing. I'm trying to reset. I'm not just trying to lose weight, but I'm trying to reset a bunch of things in my systems and stuff. So I thought I'd try this because I know people have done it. They've had some good success. So I thought I'd try it. And you know what? I walked by the youth today eating boxes of pizza. Okay? And it smelled good. And I realized I wanted pizza. And my daughter said, Dad, do you want pizza? I said, yeah. She goes, oh. I said, no. I said, I want pizza. They were eating some other stuff that I don't consider pizza. But anyway, I'm a New York pizza snob. I'm sorry. Okay, so that was just a joke between me and her. Because they were eating like Domino's or something. I said, that's not pizza. Okay, but anyway. But you love these things. And so you snack. And so you eat. This is the same thing with Torah, though. In case someone's wondering, I didn't come on here for this. It's the same reason why you do the things you do that are messing up your Torah walk. Okay, you snack on the fleshly stuff. How about that? You still binge sometimes on the fleshly stuff instead of staying with the spiritual stuff. We use the eating metaphor. It's the same idea. You crave that stuff. You desire that stuff. You develop the habit of that stuff. Same thing with food. Same thing with Torah walk. Does it make sense? Okay? Okay, so you don't need some special program or a challenge. The reason you need that is because you think you need the accountability and the motivation of other people doing something because you don't have enough in yourself to do it. Own that. Don't be ashamed of it. Most of us own that, okay? We all have that problem to some degree in some area of our life, so own it, okay? And don't say, wow, he's just really offended. No, you need to look in the mirror and own the problem. You are the problem. Whatever it is in your life that you should and could have control over that you're not doing, and you know better, but you still do it anyway, own it. That's you. Okay, group therapy has just begun apparently. Okay, what other questions you got?
What is M.T.O.I's stance on vaccines?
We're against them. And we have people that in our congregation whose children have been absolutely adversely affected by them. Okay? All right, so just so that you know, when I say congregation, I don't necessarily mean just here, but I'm saying we have people that are absolutely dealing with children who have been affected by them in an adverse way. By the way, let me give you some things. This is because that came up. So 2 decisions that were made today. Ta-da, we made some decisions today at the meeting. Okay, one decision, the question came up, what about halal foods? This will screw everybody up online. They'll all get mad at me and they'll quit. Okay? We made a decision today that there's nothing wrong with eating halal foods. Why? Well, first of all, you need to understand that the Jewish community, this is not why, by the way, the Jewish community puts kosher symbols on the same thing that halal has on them because there's nothing wrong with the halal foods and they're absolutely kosher, done, and everything else. The reason you don't like it is because a Muslim guy came in and prayed over the food. Okay, prayed facing Mecca, whatever he did, and prayed over the food. Well, I understand that you think that's a big challenge, and it is. And I don't like the whole thing at all. But you need to understand is that they didn't pray just over the stuff that got labeled halal. They prayed over everything. So you're already eating it anyway. Okay? If you are eating anything where the brand that you eat of chicken or beef or anything that you have has a halal version, everything was halal. How do I know? Because I had a guy call me from a factory, from a company, one of the bigger chicken companies in the country. I don't remember the name of it. It wasn't Purdue, but it was like big. It was a big chicken company. I don't remember, I don't know if he told me the name or not, okay? But it was one of the bigger ones. He assured me, and he happened to be he worked in the farms, and he talked to his friend who was at the factory. Hey, how was your day? And the guy said, oh, it was really kind of a funny day because today was the day the guy comes to pray over the chickens. He says, what do you mean? The halal guy comes and he prays. He says, what do they do? To separate out the ones they're going to do? He says, no, he prayed over all of them because we don't know which ones we're going to package for the halal. He said he prays over all of them. That's point number 1. Point number 2, why are you concerned about it anyway? Because it's offered to idols. Maybe the verse doesn't say what you want it to say. Okay? Food offered to idols is literally, there's an idol, and it's slaughtered, and it's sacrificed and offered to the idol. That's not happening in a halal thing. Do you know how many things did you buy that Christians prayed over? I know people personally that tell me when in the factory they work and they pray over every product that they make. Remember that, Julie, when we met that one guy? Okay? They were talking about lotions, potions, and things that you would get like normally in a drugstore for your normal like toiletries. That people that work in those companies, and they say, oh yeah, we pray over every product. Your stuff is being prayed over by who knows. Their prayers don't avail anything. Scripture says that. So don't be bothered by their prayers, okay? So it's not food offered to idols. And when it talks about eating food offered to idols, what have we learned in the Torah portions recently and also throughout the book of Leviticus? That there are certain people who have the legitimate authority to participate in eating the slaughtered sacrifice. All religions do this. And so you're not to participate in the paganism. That's the whole point of food offered to idols. Now, there was a hang-up that Paul was dealing with where people were like, well, what if that was food offered to idols and now it's in the marketplace? And he's like, well, it's in the marketplace now. It's not the same thing. You're not there participating in the paganism. Now it's just chicken or beef or lamb or whatever. It's just that. It's not, what it was used for before is irrelevant. Does that make any sense? I know you don't like it, it bothers your spirit, whatever. No, but this is just the facts. We have lots of verses in the Torah portion that we read that talks about who gets to eat that which was sacrificed. The Levites, sometimes it's only the Kohanes. Sometimes you who brought it can eat it with the Kohen or with the priest that does the slaughtering. It just depends on what it is. And there's certain protocols and rules. Guess what? In paganism, it's the same thing. Participating in that. So we made the decision that, yes, it is fine to eat the halal stuff. Okay, provided that, now if you're not comfortable, you don't have to. We simply made a policy that if you do it, we have not made any decision that should be a problem. We believe that that's going to be okay. All right? But that's up to your discretion. Right, there's even halal toothpaste, there's halal everything. And by the way, that's just a marketing thing. Look, just like the Jewish community needs it to say kosher on everything, the Muslim community wants it to say halal on everything. Okay? And so that's just what you have going on, okay? Now, by the way, let me take this a step further. If you had a chicken business or a grain farm like wheat or corn or something, you might pray over your field. Pray that whoever, whatever God you believed in blessed it, etc. Wouldn't you? If you were a religious person of some sort. So everything you're eating probably is getting prayed over by somebody. I'm just saying. You don't think the farmers pray for a good crop and pray for the rain and pray for this and pray for that? Well, who knows who they're praying to? And so we came to the understanding that that's probably not the problem. Okay? And so but this is the kind of stuff we talk about. And by the way, it went on for a good little while. Everybody got to say their point and make their case and make their point. And then we all came to consensus and I made the decision. Okay, point number 2 had to do with blood transfusions, donating blood and receiving blood, and organ donations and receiving organs. Okay, there is a concept in the Hebraic thought called light and heavy. Okay? And in other words, there's weightier things and lesser things, and understanding the weight of things. So when you're dealing with two things that are seem like they might be in conflict, the heavier thing takes precedence over the lighter thing and that kind of stuff. All right? We also have some of the things that we see with Yeshua himself on the Sabbath healing people and doing things that you would not think you would be able to do, because saving a life or preserving a life was greater than the Sabbath law. In the way he was saying it, I'm not breaking the law, I'm healing somebody. Okay? While the Pharisees thought he was breaking a commandment. And so, and it was a lot more than this. I can't give you the whole 2-hour hour discussion that we had today. But the leadership came to the decision that while none of us likes the idea, but we recognize that if that is the only thing that you can do to preserve life, that yes, you can get the transfusion and or the organ that you would need. Okay? Now, bear in mind, if you are in this ministry, you can consider this a Deuteronomy 17 decision, and therefore the right or wrongness falls on the leadership, not on you. Okay? That's if you are truly, now, bear in mind, you can't just arbitrarily say, okay, I like that decision, so I'm going to go with it because the leadership said it. You need to be able to stand before your Creator and said, I truly was submitted to that leadership. I truly believe they were of you, and therefore I trusted in their decision. Okay? You can't just arbitrarily use a leader's decision because it's convenient for you. All right? So that was two things that we had. Now, by the way, you have to understand, these are not things we take lightly. These are not easy decisions, because we almost always are only discussing things that nobody really wants to deal with because a decision has to be made, and both choices are awful. Not being able to get a transfusion if you need it to stay alive or an organ is an awful decision. Taking one that came from somebody else is an awful decision. Having to do that. Now, understand this, though. The big problem that a lot of people have is that the life is in the blood. But understand, the life is in the blood. We're talking about when people were doing in those days, they were literally eating or drinking the blood of an animal that was still pumping life. They still do this, by the way. Okay, you go into places in South America and Africa and other places where you go into where the more Aboriginal, the native original peoples are, and they're living in the woods and stuff. They'll do that. They'll still go and they'll shoot an arrow into an animal and punch a hole in it, and they'll actually pour it and drink the blood. Okay, this is something that is still done. Now, this was a lot more common in Yeshua's day. The idea that, because they knew or they felt that blood gave them the power or the strength of the animal. And so they would do this from the animal while it was still literally pumping its life. Okay? And so yet, we're not doing that when we're doing blood transfusion. That blood is going through a filtering system. It's going through all kinds of other things before it ever gets to you. Okay? Because they're going to make sure that it doesn't have certain things in it. They're going to check it for stuff. They're going to go through all these other things before they give you the blood or before your blood ends up in anybody else. Is that fair? That makes sense? Okay? But it's a hard decision. We pray that none of you ever has to make that decision. Okay? Okay, but I can tell you this. I personally know a really good friend of mine's older sister who, when she was, I'm thinking late teens, needed, I'm thinking it was a liver. Yeah, I think it was a liver that she needed, and she got the liver. They would have given them the right arms and anything else if she could have lived 5 years. Well, now she's, I'm thinking, at least 10 years older than me. She's in her mid-60s with an adopted child, and so she's lived almost 50 years longer because she got the transplant. And she was actually one of the first ones, the cutting edge, to get one. Okay? And she's still around. And they didn't think she'd make it 6 months because it was not really something that had been done. We're talking about back in the 60s, into the late 60s, into early 70s. Okay? Very early 70s. This was not a common thing like it might be today. So we're going back 50 years. What's the value of that life? The fact that it would have either ended or had. Look, some of you might say, oh, you're just trying to justify things. I'm trying to make the right decisions. You know what? Be thankful, any of you that are judging or criticizing, that you don't have this job. Okay? Just remember, it's easy to throw the rocks and throw the tomatoes when it's not your job to make decisions. But you know what? Because all you have authority over is you and maybe your family. But have the responsibility of, I've got the responsibility over probably thousands of people that follow us, that listen and take some counsel from that. That's a huge responsibility. And I take that very seriously. For those of you that are watching live stream, you're wondering, most of the people are sitting this way, and so I kind of looking a little bit that way. I'm sorry about that. Plus the live stream desk is over there. We're going to change that at some point so it's here and I look at you guys. It's just, I'm not a professional TV person, so it's weird for me to look at a camera and just talk. So I'd rather talk to people. I see their faces and their expressions. So you'll have to forgive me for that. Okay, David, what else we got now that I stirred the pot?
So here's a lighter one. Somebody wants to know, what are the dimensions of our talit that we use for the children?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's huge, though. I don't know. We probably could measure it out. It's really, really big. I was custom made and given to me as a gift when I was visiting a congregation in Casper, Wyoming. Actually, I was there with Rico Cortez, and both of us were given one, so he's got one also. So I wonder if he needs this for anything. I might have to ask him if I can. We need a second one. We need two. I might have to call Rico up and ask him if I could buy it from him or something, or make a donation. Because he has one. We might need the second one. I can't imagine what he needs it for. Because he goes around guest speaking. I don't think he needs to put a chuppah out. So, But if you know what, if that person really wants to know, give them the ops email address, tell them they can contact you, and we'll try to measure for them. Okay.
Another one is inquiring about ADA accessibility for any future developments and shuttle buses for disabled in the local area. Okay,
we have ADA as a very high priority for us as we're building anything, because we do have people already that have ADA issues. And Rabbi Tom, who you've all seen, is, basically drives around in a wheelchair, although he can move around a little bit, but he's almost always in it, as well as Candace, so we'd have some people like that. So that is absolutely on our minds when we are building anything. Okay, now as far as the shuttle busing thing, we don't have one at the moment. We used to have one. We may need to get another one if we keep getting more and more people that have that need, and if we do, we certainly will get one. So If you are in that kind of position and you're thinking of moving here, have no fear. We will make sure you're taken care of. Okay, that's the most important part. We will, and I will assure you that you will be taken care of and provided for. We'll get you where you need to go. Plus, in this town, there's a lot of really good available bus shuttle services. You just have to call for them. They'll come and pick you up, and they'll come and drop you off at stores or wherever you need to go. Okay, you may have to wait a little while for them, but there is services for that. Okay, for those in need. Dave?
So far, 190 online, and many praises for all the messages tonight, and everybody seems to be enjoying this.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, we got a hand up over here. Okay, so while you're accumulating questions there, Owen will bring this over to Christina.
I was just wondering, is there going to be a mikveh?
At Sukkot?
Yeah.
There should be. I don't know where we would do it. We may have to contact the Y and see if we can go back and use their little pond again, because I don't think there's a place for us to do it on the new property.
Okay.
But our plan always at these events is to do mikvah. So, Stacia, when we talk to Caroline, we got to just figure out if they know any place we could do it. I know they don't have anything on their property that I am aware of. We may need to call the Y and see if they would mind us coming just to do that. And I don't think Danielle would mind, but we can ask. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So for those of you on live stream, so we do 3 times a year, we generally do mikvah. We do it at Passover during that event. We do it at Sukkot at that event. And we do it during our picnic and mikvah in the summer. And a few people have put in that we do that twice in the summer, not just once. Not so much the mikvah, but the picnic. Anybody want that? Let's have 2 in the summer. Maybe we do 1 in June and 1 in July. And so we might be able to work that out. Okay, because the children go back to school in August. Okay, Dale?
Yeah, I just had a question about the kids. Are they going to have like uniforms, or are they supposed to wear anything special, or?
I guess they could, at some point we could talk about having them wear some sort of M.T.O.I. shirts or something, but at the moment we don't have any of that.
M.T.O.I. Academy shirts?
David, we need to come up with an M.T.O.I. Academy shirt. Okay. And then we need to have a saying to put on the back of it or something, so we'll have to use something. Because we never come up with sayings in this group, so. Okay, anything else, David? You got more?
School question, is it okay to dissect animals for class?
Yes, no problem at all.
Is it okay to work at a restaurant that serves pork?
Yeah, look, it's not a problem working at the restaurant serving pork. I mean, we had people here that spent their careers working at Red Lobster. And they were kosher keeping until they finally retired. Look, almost any restaurant you work at is going to serve something unclean. And that is what it is. If you are uncomfortable with it, don't do it. Get a different job. Go to places that don't serve pork. All right, but if the place you do does, it's not that there's no sin in that, okay? Just don't work on Shabbat or the holy days. Wow, I wasn't sure anybody was going to show up, and we have a nice little crowd here, and we got almost 200 people on there. That's worked out really well. Yeah. And YouTube is probably the easiest platform for most people to get on their phones and their things. It really is easy for them to access. Adobe Connect didn't work on every device, so that was challenging. Oh, we need to get Shelley to take the Adobe Connect link for the Torah study off the website. Okay, I'm just writing that down so I don't forget. I think I've already asked her to do it, but I was late Friday before Shabbat, so she might not have gotten a chance to do it. Anything else back there? Trying to scroll through the chat.
It looks like the question regarding the pork was their concern over touching the carcass of the pork, the actual meat, while they're performing the services of a server or cooker.
Okay, so here's the problem. The problem is it says that touching the carcass of the pork, well, touching any dead animal is going to make you unclean until evening. But those things are only relevant when there's a temple, okay? Because the unclean status was a temple status. You couldn't go to the temple when you were tameh, when you were unclean. You had to be tahor, okay? And then you had to do the rituals to become tahor so that you could then go to the temple. No temple, no problem, okay?
There's a question about having starting doing the split screen again during praise so they can see song lyrics.
That is being done. I know we tried to do it this week, but it didn't work. Is that what happened? Okay, it is in our plan to try to get that going again. To put the split screen with the lyrics and either the music or dancing going on. If you guys all would have bigger screens, we could put a triple screen up there and you could have the dancers and the singers and the lyrics. But that's not going to look really good on your phone. I was going to show you on my phone, but I didn't bring my phone in here. How odd. No, I don't need yours. That's okay. Marty was going to sling me his phone from the sound booth. What else?
There was a concern over whether Tennessee had many tornadoes, which I know it's more than Alaska and less than Oklahoma. So.
Okay. That helped not at all. Okay, so look, we generally don't have them, not in this area, although we did have 2 within a very short period of time, but that was like unusual. Nobody was ready for it. Nobody expected it. It's not like Oklahoma that gets them every year. Okay, not like, Tornado Alley that gets them every single year and lots of them. This is not a place where we get hurricanes very often at all. It's not a place where you get tornadoes a problem at all. There are some survival groups that put lists together trying to figure out where ideal places to live are, where it's safest from nuclear stuff, from military stuff, from natural disaster. Everything. This is actually one of the better ones on the list, this part of Tennessee, okay? And so, I didn't say it was perfect. I said it was higher up in the list as ideal places, avoiding those kind of things. But no, there have been tornadoes, yes. Do they happen very often? No. Okay? They happened right before I moved here, almost 8 years ago, and really haven't had it much since then. There's been one warning about it, maybe something like that, but not like it hit a whole bunch of houses and wrecked a whole lot of things. We haven't had too much of that. Okay? But we're talking about, at most, we're talking about 1 or 2 in 8 years as opposed to 1 every year or something, or 10 or 12 every season like you might get in Oklahoma, so. And I think it was probably 20, 30 years before that they were saying no, they really hadn't seen tornadoes, so.
Outside food being allowed in the dining hall at the Sukkot facility?
No. Okay, this is something for Sukkot, and I don't think we put it all on our form. No outside food, you can't bring it into the facility, into the dining hall. No alcohol, period. Okay? No pets. Well, hopefully go ahead.
There is a link in the first paragraph of page 1 for the policies because this place has quite a few more than YMCA. One of those includes no crock pots in the room, no smoking in the room. There's a $250 fine for each of those. So rather than list all of the...
Okay, so you linked to the policy.
I sent the link so folks could take a look around there. But among them is no outside food brought in that's not prepackaged.
Okay, in other words, you can bring a bag of potato chips, that kind of thing, something that's already prepackaged, but you can't bring anything that needs to be cooked, heated. You can't bring the crock pot. You can't do any of those things, okay? All right. But especially because, look, I know Sukkot is supposed to be a time to rejoice, and it even talks about Sukkot. Hey, you could even, take your tithe and spend it on things like strong drink. not at this facility. Now, we did get them to agree that we can do our ritual use of wine, like when we do our Kiddush and Motzi. So we can do that, all right? We just can't be having it just to kind of sip at a meal or have it in your room. And some of you are going to try to sneak it anyway. If I catch you, or any of the staff catches you, we will ask you to leave the property. How's that? Because we caught people at the YMCA. We didn't ask them. I'm going to make that much more strong this year. If we catch you, because you put us at risk, the leadership and the whole group, we will ask you to leave, and there will be no refund. All right? You have to be respectful of authority. This is part of the lessons that we've been teaching for like 8 years now, at least, since I started the ministry back in, this particular, we started ministry much earlier than that, but this, Cleveland and Chattanooga ministry, we've been hitting that authority thing hard, and we have to respect authority. And that includes the property where we go, okay? And so let that word get spread, because then the ones who do it, once one of them hears, they'll tell everybody else, if we catch you, some of you think you'll get away with it. No, you won't. You'll get caught, and if we catch you, we will exit you off the property because you didn't respect the rules. Abba is all about seeing whether or not you learn to respect rules, authority, guidance, okay, submission. Actually, that's really the key word, because if you're still doing it, it's because you don't agree with the rule. That's when submission comes in, when you don't agree. So you don't agree? Fine. Now you get to submit. Okay? Next.
In regards to pets in an RV, the RV spots off campus allow pets, and there's also a local kennel that I board my dogs in while we're there.
Okay, there's a good point. All right, so there are other campgrounds and other RV sites near this property. And if some of them allow pets, you just have to ask, okay? But you won't be able to take your pet with you and carry your small, especially if it's like one of those cute little small pocket pets, little dogs or whatever you got that are small. You can't take that with you into the meetings. You can't take that with you into the buildings. Okay, unless you have a papered, certified service dog, we can make maybe an argument with them about, but it has to have the documents and papers to be a service dog. Because I don't think they can say no to that because of the other laws, okay? But you can't claim your dog as we had a guy the one year wanted to say he had a service cat. No such thing, okay? No such thing. But if you actually have a legitimate service dog with its papers, bring the papers. Because we will need to see them and have a copy, so in case anybody asks us. Okay, what else?
Aaron Sullivan's really concerned about no coffee pots, but there is a coffee shop.
Okay, this property has something the other ones have not had. It has a coffee shop. And it's not Passover, which means that you can also eat their muffins and other wonderful little desserts that they have there, unless you have the discipline to not picture it going right to the hip. Okay, I just ruined all of you now. You're going to picture the food going right on the hips, okay? There is a big hill that you could walk up that kind of work up or walk off the donut, okay? But they do have a coffee shop that's on campus that make like a Starbucks type of thing, but it's their own little, I forgot what it was called, but it was called Clouds. But they make fresh coffee for you and make different, espressos and lattes and whatever, okay? I don't speak coffee, so I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but David, what else you got? David speaks coffee. I could ask him to talk about it. But.
Your stance on attending family funerals on Saturdays, Shabbat.
Okay, look, Shabbat is, this is how I want to explain it. You know the word kadosh. Kadosh means set apart. In Christianese, it would be holy, but nobody knows what holy is anyway. But it's more specific than that. It's set apart for a specific purpose in serving the desires of our Creator. So since Shabbat is kadosh, we have to understand, well, what is it set apart for? It's set apart so that we have a period of time, one whole day, to focus on Him and nothing else, to put away all of the normal activities of our life and focus on Him. We have a Mikra Kodesh, a gathering, a commanded holy assembly, a sacred assembly. We come together for a Mikvah Kodesh, a set-apart assembly. That means that weddings, nope. Funerals, nope. Birthdays, no. Your boss wanting to come into work, definitely no. Okay, graduations, no. Okay, because those are not focused on him. You go to a funeral, what are you focused on? You're mourning, you're lost, there's no joy in Shabbat, you're focused on the person that passed. I know that you might not have control over who decides when the funeral is. By the way, the person that died is not going to be offended when you didn't show up. Just thought I'd point that out. Okay? The person that has passed away is not going to be mad at you for not showing up at their funeral. If you have family members, by the way, who schedule weddings and weddings and funerals on Shabbat, and you've already made it clear to them that you keep Shabbat and they know that, you should be the one getting mad at them for disrespecting you to schedule it on a day that you couldn't come, instead of them getting mad at you for not coming. I say, why are you mad at me? You knew I wouldn't. You did this knowing, well, I thought you'd come anyway. No, I keep the Sabbath. See, they don't understand Sabbath. Some of you don't either, and that's why you need to ask this question. I'm not picking on the person who asked the question. It's a good question. But if you understood Sabbath, you wouldn't even need to ask the question. Okay? We're not doing other activities on Shabbat. Some of you are going to miss family members' weddings. Some of you are going to miss funerals. Some of you are going to miss all kinds of things, and your family members are going to be furious with you. Did you not understand when, I'm not even going to look it up, but you guys know the verse. When Yeshua says, well, I know what book it's in. I don't know what chapter it's in. She's like helping me out. It's in Matthew. It's also on the left page and the left column at the top of the page if you need to know that. Okay? It's funny. She's like trying to help me out, like I'm not going to be able to find it. All right. Well, there's two different places. I'll quote you from one of them, okay? That was funny, actually. Okay. There is, okay, so in Matthew 10, remember I said it was on the left column on the left page, on the top of the page, there it is right there on the top. Well, you can't zoom in, you'll have to believe me. If you have a 98 scriptures, you can look it up. Okay. He says, beginning actually at the very bottom of the other page, says, do not think I came to bring peace on earth. I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. For I've come to bring division, a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, man's enemies are those of his own household. He says, he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. What do you think he's talking about here? Just in general? No. When you get invited to that funeral wedding, you're going to experience this opportunity, this moment. Okay? Which was in Matthew. Okay, so that's the key. I thought it was cute, actually, if you thought I needed your help. Okay, so in this piece right here, when you read this scripture, what do you think would cause this? Well, choosing to believe in Yeshua and not the Jesus that they believe in. Choosing to give up Christmas and Easter and to keep the feast. Choosing to move from Sunday to Saturday. Giving up pork and whatever. These are things that might cause this, but you know what really might cause this is when you say, I'm sorry to your son or daughter or to your grandchild, I can't come to your graduation because your school scheduled it on Saturday. Who are you going to put first? Well, you don't understand. I get actually phone calls where the person says to me, but you don't understand. My daughter will never talk to me again. Do you love her more than you love him? He says, if you love your daughter more than you love me. If I don't go to my grandkids' graduation, my daughter, my son, whoever, they won't ever talk to me again. First, they will. And one day when Abba pokes them, they'll remember your integrity. What if Abba pokes them and they really get it and they remember your hypocrisy because you gave in? And then they're going to look at you like, why did you give in? Or maybe they'll follow you in the hypocrisy and they'll give in. What example are you setting? Oh, that's really mean and hard, Rabbi. I didn't say it. I'm just reading it to you. You know, it says in Isaiah 58, the last couple of verses, if you would turn away your foot on the Sabbath from doing your pleasure, doing what you want, in other words, he says, then I'll raise you above and into the heights, etc. I'm not going to turn there for that one, but just look at the last two verses of Isaiah 58. What is it your pleasure to go to the graduation, the wedding, whatever it is? I know it's not your pleasure to go to the funeral, but maybe you want to go because that person was really close to you. So you will, it's not so much that you'll have joy in going, but you'll feel a lot more awful not going or whatever. Well, go keep Shabbat and find joy and peace and shalom in the Father, knowing that whatever was happening at that funeral, he's got it under control, and you didn't need to be there to make that happen. Funerals, by the way, are not about the dead person. It's about the people sitting there mourning the loss. And you know what you can do? You can go spend time with them after Shabbat, and the next day, and the next day. Because sadly, a lot of people go to the funeral and you never see them again. They forget that you might need them a week later or a month later. So you know what? You go be the person that shows up, but not on Shabbat. Okay? Look, we just read in Balak the phrase I wanted you to remember. I'm sorry, but I cannot go beyond the word of Elohim, the word of Yahweh. Why can't you come to this thing on Saturday? Because I can't go beyond the word of Yahweh. Yahweh said, I have to keep Shabbat. I can't go to funerals. The Jews do not do funerals on Saturday. The Jews don't do weddings on Saturday. I'm not saying that we need to not do these things because the Jews don't do it. I'm just giving you an example of the most long-standing, existing, continuous observing of the Sabbath group on the planet. They understood you don't schedule these things on Shabbat. Okay? By the way, isn't that exactly what was going on with Yeshua when he died? Nobody went to see him on Saturday. They went to see him on Sunday, the first day of the week. We got the example right there. They also didn't mess around with what was going on with him on Friday because it was preparation day. Thursday was the holy day. So they show up on Sunday, he's already gone. Okay, and by the way, there's another ministry, I won't mention them, but the question was in a Q&A that came up about the resurrection being, if he died on Wednesday and this and that, was he raised on Sunday? Was he raised on Saturday? And the person absolutely vacillated from answering the question. They said, all I know is that when they showed up, he was gone. I'm sorry, you know more than that. We know that he was in the grave exactly 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. We know when he died. He died around 4 o'clock, the 9th hour. We know. So if we know, then we know he was resurrected in the afternoon. Well, he was already out of the tomb when they show up in the morning, so it wasn't the afternoon on Sunday. It's the afternoon on Saturday. We know when he was resurrected. So I can't believe this ministry guy didn't, very disappointing. Okay? You got to answer the question straightforward. We know he was gone, yes. We also know when he was resurrected. We know when he died, so we know when he was resurrected. Same time he died, same time he resurrected. Can we agree on that? Any other questions?
About the appropriateness of celebrating birthdays.
Okay, that question comes up a lot. Okay, look, we're not Jehovah's Witnesses. We're not on these other groups that obsess about, birthdays being evil or something. Look, there are groups that have looked in the Bible and saw a couple of bad things happen on a birthday. There's other good things, by the way, that happen on birthdays, and we see them in Scripture. They never get quoted. I don't have them off the top of my head, but that's not even the point. The point is there has to be a thou shalt or thou shalt not. Otherwise, you're adding. Okay? There's no prohibition to acknowledge the anniversary of your birth. Just like there's no prohibition to acknowledge the anniversary of your marriage or the anniversary of being at a job for so many years or whatever other marking of time that you do. Okay, maybe the anniversary of your moving to Tennessee or the anniversary of when you went in the water and made your declarations. These are moments that are important to you and significant, and you acknowledge them. Now, if you're going to turn it into the me day, and there are people you know that do that, and they'll go so over the top, don't participate in that. Okay? But if you want to acknowledge your day, by the way, my opinion, and everybody can get excited or not about this, I don't think that the child should have anything about their birthday. I think the child should take their mom out. Because on that birthday, the child did nothing. Mom did everything. So I don't know why the kid gets the happy birthday. The kid should say, Mom, I'm so glad you gave birth to me. Let me take you out. Would that work for you ladies? I mean, that makes more sense to me, but also makes sense to me, though, for the moms to want to spend time with their child and look at the milestones, just like we look at significant in America, right? 18 is significant. 21 is significant. For most cultures, a lot of cultures, 50 is significant. Or, there's milestones in your age as you go. And so acknowledging these milestones, look, I just turned 56, 0 significance. Okay? But 50 was a big one. Okay? Because you look back on a period of time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with celebrating birthdays. To say that it's against Torah, against anything, is adding to Torah. Torah never mentions it once. Okay? All right.
And Renaissance Entertainment wants to know, they've made a huge mistake, scheduled a family cruise that includes 2 Shabbats. How should they handle this, especially since boarding happens on Shabbat?
Okay, you made the mistake booking the cruise, or the cruise line switched it on you? I didn't understand that. Say it again.
They scheduled it. They scheduled a family cruise that includes 2 Shabbats, and boarding happens on Shabbat. So it's probably a Saturday to Saturday cruise.
So why are you going on a Saturday to Saturday cruise that includes 2 Shabbats? Oh, it's a family cruise, and because I'm going to have the best time of my life, because I love cruises. You know what I go on? I go on Monday to Friday cruises. It used to be Sunday to Thursday, but it changed it. I go on Monday to Friday cruises. I never have a Shabbat problem. Okay? Now, you're not doing active commerce getting on the cruise on a Saturday, so that's not necessarily the problem. So it's not so much that you're doing business. You already bought the tickets and everything. But the problem is there's no way you're paying any attention to Yahweh getting on the cruise. And I've been on cruises. I love cruises. I've been on lots of them. That first day is worse than any of the other days. I mean, that's when it all explodes and they want to get, you're not going to be keeping Shabbat. There's not a prayer you're keeping Shabbat. There's a possible shot on a week-long cruise where the Saturday's in the middle, if they figured out a way to do that. And because after all, you've had a couple of days and things have gotten into some sort of a routine, and you can maybe find a way to go hide in your room for a day. But there's no way on the day you're leaving and the day you're coming back. Well, the day you're coming back, you're going to get in at 9 in the morning and be done. But how are you keeping Shabbat? You're not going to keep Shabbat on the cruise. Okay? It's just not a way to do that. Okay? Now, there's a possibility, for example, we've talked about Shavuot on a boat. A couple of times Shavuot falls on Sunday. We thought, well, we could do maybe a cruise, but that would have to be a cruise that went through the weekend, started before Saturday, ended after Sunday, and we could actually have us in there with me there leading services on the boat and making sure that people were focused on Yahweh during that time, which is not easy to find any kind of a boat you could do that on. So it's just been a fun chant to chant. But, okay, so I would say if you already have your tickets and already bought them, I don't know what to tell you because that was a mistake. You can't, there's no way to do it. You can't keep Shabbat, leaving on Saturday and getting back Saturday, etc., on a boat. Not happening. Okay? Especially with the hustle and bustle you're going to have to do Friday night when you're coming back on Saturday to get your luggage ready for them to take it off the boat. Because I know all the rigmarole you have to do and the celebrations the last night on the boat. And you have to get your luggage all done and put it out in the hallway so they can grab it by 11. And you're not doing that before sundown and having your luggage sit out there all night and everything. It's just not happening. You're going to have to get really involved in stuff that you'd rather not be doing on Shabbat. Sorry. What else?
What's your stance on yoga, acupressure, acupuncture, things like that?
Okay, I like blueberry yogurt, acupuncture, and no. Okay, so look, yoga, I know a lot of it can be done in a very sort of paganist, sort of religious sort of way. If you're going to just go to a place where all they're doing is stretching, and you can get some really great stretches out of that, I don't have a problem with it from a stretching point of view. They do work you through a program of poses that really stretches everything very nicely. Okay? You just have to be paying attention to the teacher and how much the teacher is bringing the religious side of it in. Some yoga is very religiously done. Some of it's just stretching. Okay? So I can't tell you, I mean, if you can go find a good stretching class and they do using yoga poses, I don't have a problem with that. And I know that sometimes those poses were used for pagan different things. Look, almost anything you do, I move my hand, scratch my nose, and people think I'm doing Illuminati signs. I mean, people think what they want to think. Okay? Okay, that was for all those people who were freaked out on YouTube. As far as acupuncture, acupressure, and all those kind of things, they work. Okay, they work. There's things about the body that we have an East meets West thing. The Western mindset is afraid of everything that's Eastern. That's why we're afraid of things like meditation. And look, Yeshua went and prayed for hours and for a whole day sometimes. What do you think that is? He's meditating. He's not going, Om, and all that kind of stuff. But he's sitting quietly and getting, and allowing himself to be in a meditative state. We have lots of verses telling us to meditate on the word. But as Westerners, we're fearful of anything that's Eastern. But then Yeshua was in what's called the Middle East. It's an Eastern area, Eastern influenced. Okay? So acupuncture, acupressure, these things can work. They hit the spots. There's definitely something to them. I can tell you that when I've had certain problems in parts of my neck, that those parts on my feet that would be theoretically connected from an acupressure point on my feet absolutely are the only spots that hurt on my feet, right where my pain is. And anatomically, biologically, they can't say why that is. There are no nerves that run from that spot to your neck. Okay? But there's a lot of things about the body they don't understand. And look, we're basically energy. And that energy flows through our body. The eastern side of the world has studied the energy more than we've studied it on the western side. And so they understand energy in a different way, and they understand what can affect our body's energy. Even the western side is starting to realize that certain foods we're eating lower our energy, and therefore it allows for things to develop in us that if our energy was higher could never survive. Because you're exposed to flu and colds and all kinds of bacterial things all the time. But you don't get sick all the time. When your energy is high enough, when your vibrational energy is high enough, you don't get sick because those things can't live in that environment. However, when you sugar it up and junk food it up and everything else, your energy level goes down. I'm not talking about energy like being all hyped up. I mean that vibrational essence that we are. We vibrate. All things vibrate. Okay? Even this podium has a vibrational part to it. That's the physics of it. Okay? That's not mumbo jumbo. That's science. But connected to science is also the idea that in that vibrating, our bodies vibrate, that there are connections. So I'm not against any of those things. Just be aware if the practitioner is trying to bring problematic things into it. All right? Look, it doesn't just have to be things like acupressure, acupuncture. We had a dentist or orthodontist that wanted to pray before he did work on our kids. An oral surgeon. Okay? He was very Christian. Okay, well, I think it was Adventist or Christian, whatever he was. He was Christian. And he wanted to pray before he did oral surgery on our kids. So it doesn't have to even be something like yoga. And by the way, I do like blueberry yogurt, just in case you want it. Okay. Next point. Was there any more? Were we done?
Wanting to know, what do you do if you want to come to Sukkot but don't have the money?
Make a phone call and we'll talk about your situation and see if you qualify for our benevolence program. So just, by the way, punch in there our phone number for people. It's okay to put that on there. 423-250-3020. Okay, put that in there. Okay. Do we have a feast email set up? So you can put that in there if you want to. It's on the paperwork. You can even put it on in the chat so they have it. So they can, if they have a feast-related question, they can email that email. Okay? And that'll be fine. Any other questions? I think this has been pretty good, all things considered.
Wrapped it up.
That wrapped it up. Okay, Owen's got his hand up with that stuff in the live stream. That's good.
195 high number online.
Wow, 195. Awesome. Okay, praise Yah. Okay, Owen? He wants to say something or just wants the mic back?
Yes, thank you, Rabbi. I would like to know what is your position eating at restaurants that serve unclean food, like Cracker Barrel. My wife and I went there not too long ago, and then we asked the cook, if all the food is combined and grilled in the same grills, and they have like 5 grills, and they just throw food to the grill as they need it. So it's possible that pork and other items that are not food are cooked and grilled in the same place where my hamburger meat is. And I wanted to know what you think about that.
Okay. So first of all, I don't go to Cracker Barrel. I just don't happen to like.
Or Five Guys, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, they cook, in Five Guys, they cook the bacon off on a totally different part of the grill. Okay, than they do the burgers. All right? So that's not a problem. But look, as far as when you said, what is my position on going to restaurants that serve unclean foods, my first answer was going to be, I just don't order the unclean foods. Okay? All restaurants pretty much, unless they're vegetarian type places, they're going to offer some sort of unclean food to some degree. And so what you can do is, with some places, you can just, look, my wife and I went to a really interesting hibachi place, like a Japanese grill where they cook in front of you and do the whole entertainment thing with my parents for their 59th year anniversary. And all we did was tell them that we had a problem with seafood. Basically, they called it a seafood allergy. And so they scour their grills before they, when they finished the end of their thing, before the next person comes. I mean, they poured stuff on it and scrubbed it down and boiled it. And I mean, their grills are clean. And they said, what we do for people like you is we cook your stuff first, and then the shrimp or whatever anybody else wants gets cooked second, and with separate different utensils. And so you can ask and say, look, just call it an allergy. I know that's not exactly the truth. It's not a lie either. You're trying to communicate what you need. And most restaurants at this time, it's better than it was 20 or 30 years ago, understand people with allergies, where they can't eat certain things, and will make the effort because they want you as a customer. And so they'll put it on a separate grill. When my wife and I went to this one hibachi place in Knoxville, they would take our food and cook it in the kitchen on a separate grill than the main hibachi one, where they were cooking all the unclean foods, because they didn't scour it for each person like they do at these Japanese restaurants where they're just serving that table. Okay? And so what they did is, we watched them do is, and actually our food wasn't done when they started to go ahead at the very end and put the shrimp on, but they put it on a total other side of the grill with total different utensils. But they waited till there was room on the grill, because the food that they first put out with the rice and everything else took up the whole grill. That was all the vegetables and everything else. Then they put the steak and chicken on there first. And then when they had enough room and they moved everything over, then they put the unclean stuff on the total other side and had a total separate utensils. People will make the effort. I'm just using that as an example that you can ask restaurants to do things. Don't just ask them what they're already doing. Say, hey, what can you do to accommodate an allergy or problem with seafood or pork or whatever it is, okay? And so they can do that. Does that answer your question? Okay? Now, of course, with the hibachi place, it was more than ideal because I got to watch them do it and not just have them tell me they did it. But you know what? When you're buying anything, eating anything in a restaurant, you have no idea what they're doing, no matter what they tell you. And that includes spitting in it, sneezing in it, and anything else they're doing. But we go to restaurants at our own risk anyway, okay? And so it is what it is. We make every effort we can. That's the point. Okay? Okay? Do you want the mic, Tricia? Okay, bring the mic up to Tricia.
So on that same line, with your stance with restaurants, we go to the grocery store and we see, let's say, a bottle of stevia that says it's manufactured in the same plant that has shellfish or nuts, but yet it's clearly stevia, what is your stance if it's just labeled?
Look, the label's there just for they do the efforts to keep these things separate. But because, especially for the shellfish and peanut allergy people, if there's even the remotest chance that a little bit of speck of something got in there, some of them can really be messed up because it floats in the air or some little thing could actually so it's not like you're likely to get anything but stevia in the stevia or anything but, look, I had, you can get any kind of other type of, a food that could, like nut related, but it's not nuts. And so some people have a peanut allergy, but you get a can of cashews and they'll tell you it was made in the same place the peanuts were made in. But that doesn't mean that the peanuts actually are affecting that, but they have to put that for their own disclaimer so they don't get sued. Okay? But the odds of it being there are very slim because they also don't want anybody to actually eat of it and not read the label properly and think about suing them. So I would think it's very unlikely that just because something says it was done in the same place as shellfish, that you would have it. Of course, you always have the opportunity to not buy that product. Buy a different brand. Buy one that doesn't say it.
I understand that, but as a halakha decision, can we or can we not?
Yes, you can buy it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's the same thing when you eat in a restaurant. Your food is, whatever you bought in any restaurant that serves unclean stuff has a potential chance, while unlikely, to have some of that stuff interact on some level. Okay? That's not breaking the commandment. You make the effort you can. You're clearly not making an effort to eat pork or to try to eat shellfish or any of those kind of things, but it can happen. Okay? And by the way, not as an excuse, not as a validation, the worst thing about that is that you're unclean till evening. Just understand that. It's not going to be like this thing that, ruins you for life. Okay? My wife and I ordered really great meatball heroes from a pizza place restaurant in New York when we lived in New York. And somehow one of them, we got the wrong order. And so I took a bite of mine, it tasted great, it was fine. She took a bite of hers, it tasted funny and weird. Turned out it was sausage. All right? Now, she'd never eaten pork her whole life. And we were not happy. She was very not happy. Okay? But we got the wrong order. Okay? What do you do? Okay? And I had, actually, believe it or not, she was so unhappy. It took me a while to help calm her down to say, you're not wrecked for life. Okay? Okay? Because she really felt like I had this perfect record and now I'm ruined for life. Okay? But she didn't do it on purpose. We ordered the right food. We called the restaurant, and they had already realized whoever had ordered the other stuff had gotten the wrong, and so they had switched the orders. Because they were similar. They had ordered we ordered 2 meatball heroes. Someone ordered a meatball hero and a sausage, a bolognese or whatever. So anyway, it was a pork sausage hero, whatever. But now the good thing was she knew immediately this was not good. Something was wrong with this. Okay? All right, so don't walk in fear. Make the best effort. Remember, Deuteronomy 8:2 applies to everything, that you're making every effort to be perfect. He's looking to see if it's in your heart to get it right. So make the effort. Make the effort to get it right. Don't say, well, it's only going to make me unclean till the evening, so I'm going to have bacon on my burger. No, that's a sin if you do that purposely, etc. Okay? If it inadvertently somehow, like when in Julie's case or whatever, nothing eternal is going to happen to you. What you do is you say, okay, I realize now I need to make a better effort. I'm going to adjust it. Whatever it is, when you learn, we adjust. That's what life is about, learning and adjusting. Own it, fix it, let it go, move on, right? Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're good. All right. Well, that's going to conclude our general session. We didn't open in prayer, and that's okay. I did that on purpose because you don't have to start everything and end everything with a prayer. It's very good to do that with our Heavenly Father and to go ahead and open and close in prayer. Okay? And so I'm going to pray because I saw you guys dueling with the mics as to which one thought he was going to end up with it. So that's right. So since you guys are so enthusiastic about not wanting the mic, I'll pray. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, King Father, we come before you, and I think it's appropriate as the person you've put in leadership here with MTOI, that at the end of our general session that I want to pray for all of the leadership here, as well as especially the people we get to serve. Because MTOI's sort of mandate and motto has always been working together to serve the body in as effective a way as we can. And so, Father, we're truly here with hearts to serve your children, to serve the body, to help them in any way we can to go through the journey from here into the kingdom. And so, Father, we want to thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank you for all those that participated tonight, for all of the really good questions that we had, and they were all really good today. And that, Father, that we appreciate the community that you're beginning to build in the form, at least with us. Not that you're not doing anything anywhere else, but at least we definitely appreciate the community opportunity you're forming here. And not just here locally, but with the people on the live stream and the extended MTOI family. So, Father, we just want to submit ourselves to you, asking that you would be with us as we go through the week, that you would help us all to be here again on Tuesday for the Torah study, and then, of course, for Shabbat, to keep us safe and healthy and continue to inspire us to grow in our transforming from ourselves into your Son. So, Father, it's now with awe, reverence, and excitement that we want to come to you and ask all of this in our Messiah's name, in the name above all names, Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen. 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 Good night, everyone. And I guess I'll